Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to Talk of the Devils, brought to you by talkofthedevils.co.uk, your number one Manchester United podcast. Good to see you all again. Obviously, I've got a great panel tonight. A little bit laboured tonight, made it very, very difficult for ourselves. We will break it down as best we can, but obviously a wonderful panel. Get your comments in, get liking, get subscribing. Richard already in here. Saw him last night, the absolute geezer. That wasn't a good watch at all. What happened to my 5-0? Not just your 5-0, bro. Mine too. Very, very disappointed. Made it very, very difficult. And we were talking backstage. I feel that at the moment there is a big mentality problem. We've spoken about this for weeks on end. You know, we seem to have a great mentality when it's counting, but as soon as we go back in, we seem to hide and not know how to react to things. You know, there was a couple of really poor place passed by Sancho. Malacia got done a couple of times tonight. Mentality problem. Second goal, we get a goal, and then we're on our back foot, and can see one straight away. Really, really disappointing. But anyway, listen, good to have you all on, boys. Lovely to see your beautiful faces again. Just another comment here, John. Welcome back, my man. Evening all. Stu, talk to me about how you're feeling, my man.
Look. A win's a win, isn't it? I guess. You can't always play scintillating attacking football, and you can't always play good football. Yeah, sometimes you just got to get over the line. I mean, that's competition football anyway. Sometimes it's very difficult, but the problems always occur when you make games difficult for yourself. I'd imagine Ten Hag would have been massively disappointed, whatever the result was tonight, because he won't have seen any kind of difference between the performance we put in against City and that we've done tonight. It was very reminiscent of a disjointed bunch of players that various managers of high caliber can't seem to get to click. I'm not really sure, apart from the win, you could take any positives out of it. Really, if I'm on the plane home with those tonight, you know, I'll be self-reflecting once again as to how bad my performance was, and it's the same culprits. Unfortunately, it's Bruno again, you know, offering very, very little. It's Malacia, you know. Last couple of games has been absolutely woeful. You don't get hooked twice at half time if something is, unless something isn't right. And it isn't right. Lindelof, very, very rusty. The Martinez-Lindelof partnership won't gel. It just won't ever gel. It's not going to work. And I remember in the first half when Martinez was pulling on a player's shirt in the box, and the ball's bouncing around, and we're just standing there like fucking chill. Sorry, I've done it again. Like children. At under-8s football, just looking around and, you know, with nobody taking responsibility. And you haven't even got De Gea, by the way, coming off his line to grab the ball like a normal goalkeeper would. He just stays on his line. And you're watching all this unfold in front of your eyes, and you're thinking, crikey, is this really elite football? Am I watching elite level players? Am I watching Manchester United quality players? And we really aren't. And then our attacking was one-dimensional again. It didn't have any fear, you know. Omonia and Nicosia or whatever they were called, they played with no fear, which is great. It's how a team should play. You know, welcome, Manchester United to them and say, well, look, we're just going to smack you right in the mouth and see if you drop first. And that's what they did. They punched us 2 or 3 times, and we collapsed in the first half. And you can't have this. And Ten Hag must be going home every night thinking, why have I got a bunch of muppets playing for me at Manchester United? You know, and he just does. I don't think Ten Hag knows what to do with his group of players. There were a couple of shining lights. Let's look at one tiny little positive, and that was the reincarnation of Shaw, Rashford, and Martial. Absolutely terrific to watch. Reminded me of 2019, 2020. Brilliant to see. Ronaldo looked sharp. I'll give him it. He looked angry. He looked aggressive.
Just wasn't his day today, was it? But he does look sharp. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. And Martial alongside him. I think Ronaldo's going to score a hat full of goals for the remainder of the season. There's going to be some casualties, in my humble opinion. Malassia's got to be one now. You've got to take him out the firing line. You've got to put Shaw in. You've got to take Sancho out, I'm afraid. I'm not really sure. And I know Marcus wants to talk about that, so I'll just gloss over this, Marcus. I'll let you really delve into it. I'm not really sure what Sancho's offering us. Ellis has gone to Holland, by the looks of
Amsterdam.
I don't even know what's going on here.
Fantastic.
Looks like you're in a nightclub.
Yeah, and the Lindelof Martinez is going to be an issue for us going into Everton. So we do need Varane back. So overall, a win's a win. So let's be honest, a win's a win. But there's still too many negatives outweighing the very, very small positives. So Marcus, I'll let you talk about Sancho, mate. So
yeah, I mean, before I get to Sancho, like tonight, you know what's disappointing about tonight's performance is like that was a strong team that we played. It would have been a completely different story if we played a second string team and the game ended 3-2. Like I wouldn't be mad at all. If Lindelof, Shaw, Maguire, I don't know if he's fit, but hypothetically, if Maguire started, if Eriksen wasn't on the pitch, if Bruno wasn't on the pitch, if we had a proper second string team, a 3-2 win against Omonia in Europe is perfectly acceptable. The scary thing is that was a strong team. That's a Man United team that we expect to see every week in the Premier League, barring a couple of players who started due to injury, like Lindelof, right? That's the scary part here. So as much as a win is a win and 3 points is 3 points, the performance, there's so many red flags when you apply that context. And then on top of that, I think you look at some of the senior players at Manchester United. Look, Malacia wasn't great, but I can allow it with Malacia because he's young. He's a young player. And I said this about him when we signed him. Like those first 3 games, I was really shocked because I don't think people realize how young this kid is. He was playing at Feyenoord. He wasn't even playing at Ajax. He wasn't even playing at the top team in the Eredivisie. He was playing in the mid-table section of the Eredivisie. I didn't expect much from him. And he's come to Manchester United. He's had a couple of, maybe 3 or 4 really good performances. And then he's dropped off. That's normal. I can accept that. That's fine. But the senior players, like Bruno and Sancho especially, my word, what a woeful performance. And you know what? I think I'm starting to change my opinion and my perspective of Jadon Sancho because I think the first season was a grace period for him. I was willing to give him that and say, you know what? I understand it's a new league, new system, new coach, whatever the case is. And we know that Sancho is an extremely technical player. And one of the common things amongst a lot of technical players is that they need a system around them to thrive. And so I was like, you know what? Let's just give him time. But it gets to the point where some of the things you're doing have... but it gets to the point where some of the things that you're doing have nothing to do with the system. It gets to the point where some of the decisions you're making shouldn't matter regardless of what's going on around you. And tonight, I think Sancho has hit a new low. I think he was really, really disappointing tonight. He seems like one of those players that needs the sun to be at the perfect angle, the breeze to come at the perfect trajectory, the right amount of sugar in his tea. Otherwise, everything goes wrong. And it reminds me of Donny, actually. I'm not going to lie. It reminds me of Donny, but the only difference is at least he's getting chances. So I love Sancho, technically fantastic player, but it doesn't mean anything if you can't produce. And I just worry that we're going down the same territory as the Donnys and the Pogbas and the Matters, where we've got this really great player, but we don't know how to use him, and he himself isn't doing himself any favors. Apart from that, I don't really have too much to complain about. I think in terms of the other performances, it was more to do with how badly we played as a team and not necessarily individuals, So, yeah, it was sad to see what happened with Ronaldo tonight as well. I mean, yeah. You can't cheat age and you can't cheat time. That's one thing, and tonight Ronaldo,
don't tell me that.
it's the sad reality of life, and I think life is a lot better when you accept it instead of fight it. I think Ronaldo tonight was, I don't know, man. I don't know. I haven't been a big fan of Ronaldo for a while, but even I'm like, that's a new low. I don't think he played terribly in terms of his overall game, but the chances he missed tonight, oh my word.
Just looks a little bit rusty. I think that he looked sharper than he has done for a while. Obviously, with the minutes that he's had, I thought that his overall game was very well. He was bringing players into it very well. He did an incredible turn in order to create himself some space, and unfortunately, he just didn't put it away. Yeah. I just think it was one of those nights. I get where you're coming from. Doesn't look his best quite yet, but he's had very little minutes. I thought that he was on it. He was ready. He was hungry. Unfortunately, it just didn't go in tonight. But great points well made. Ellis, over to you, my man.
Yeah, sorry about that. That reminded me of like a typical FA Cup game that you see like now and again, where the smaller team just try and absolutely outfight, and we just weren't up for it. In that first half, we looked shocked, we looked scared, as if we'd just come out of the derby again, and it was just really was quite poor. In terms of individual performances, I thought that we didn't play as a team. I didn't think there was any cohesion. There wasn't anything that was working. I think when we brought the substitutions on in the second half, we looked much more fluid, much more going forward. We needed to. We had to chase the game, but I think we're a lot more fluid, playing through the lines a lot more. But in the first half, we just looked really poor. We just looked sluggish, tired. Confidence was shot, and that's never a good thing, is it, in football? As Stu said, I didn't think I was watching like professional football. I was watching, thinking, what are you doing? Like we're away to Omonia. But what are we doing here? Like, just keep things simple. Play your basics of football. Get through the first 20 because they're going to be up for it. And just control the game. Dictate the tempo. Get on the ball. Start moving it between the lines. And they're going to make mistakes because you're the better team. And we just didn't do that. And it was just very confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah, good points, well made. Just coming to a few of the comments. Loads of you on Twitter. Come over to youtube.com/Talk of the Devils. I want to be able to read out your comments. I repeat this so many times, but there's still people that go onto Twitter, so come over. It'd be good to see you. John Commode in the comments here. Wins a win, but poor to concede to and should have scored more. One of those days for Ronaldo. It's strange being disappointed with a 3-2 away win in Europe. Richard says, absolutely. Helly, great to see you in the comments. Always lovely to have you back. A new to make those subs. And I think this is a good point, actually. A lot of people on Ollie, previous managers, Ralph's back on making the right substitutions at the right time. And I know we've played poorly in the last two games, and absolutely, we're lucky to obviously get a 3-2. We were lucky to get 3 goals at the weekend, but he made substitutions at the right time in order to make an impact on the game, and that did happen at the weekend, whether you like it or not. 6-3 is not nice. 6-3 is not nice against City, but he made substitutions to make that impact, and he did it again tonight. And I think that credit has to be given in those moments. John, agreeing with you earlier. Yes, glad you made that point, Stu. Shaw and Rashford looked like the start of that partnership, possibly reincarnating. Only time will tell. Key to the game, I felt, was bringing Martial on for Bruno. He looked better. We looked better after that. Yeah, absolutely. I think Bruno is worrying. We all know the class and abilities there. It will come back, but I think if you think in the last 2.5-3 years he's been here, he's played almost every minute. He needs a break. I think that is telling now. Just want to move on to Casemiro tonight. We spoke very briefly backstage. Before obviously starting the show. Stu, how do you feel he fared tonight on his overall performance?
Yeah, I think he did okay. He's a middle of the road performance tonight for sure, but he got a full 90 minutes in the tank, and for a player like Casemiro, it's absolutely essential that you do that. I felt when McTominay came on, it kind of unbalanced us again. Really. And I think from that point of view, for me, I just felt that Casemiro, although he made 1 or 2 errors, he was positionally not great. Certainly in the first 20 minutes, I think he struggled to get to the pace of the game. And I think he's still looking around for the crooner, and I think he's still looking around for Modric to be alongside him. And we just don't have those types of players apart from Eriksen. And when Bruno's on that pitch as well, the unbalance with Eriksen, Bruno and Casemiro is not great. So when you've got somebody like Casemiro, who is a very, very simple footballer, all good CDMs are, they're very, very simple. They get the ball to feet and they move it. But Casemiro's got the ability to change our tempo as well. And if you look at the first 20, 25 minutes, if you looked at the way that Omonia played, they were just soaking up pressure. They tried to strangle us and suffocate us like all teams do. And with Sancho not performing at his best, I don't think Anthony had the best game, if I'm being honest, tonight. I thought he was okay in patches. It makes a CDM's role very, very difficult because it's almost truncated through the middle where you've got to pass the ball to Eriksen, where you really need to look at width. When Rashford came on and Martial came on, you found players that were coming toward Casemiro rather than running away from him. So it allowed Casemiro then to start to dictate a little better the type of play that he wants to do and wants to instill in us as a unit. I like him. I've always liked him. It's not the most difficult and taxing position to play. And there are some players like Kante, Fernandinho, Rodri at City. They make it look very, very easy, but they've got the right players around them to enable them to do that. And you'll find as Casemiro grows into his role at Manchester United, you'll see something very, very similar. So I thought average, middle of the road today, but he was certainly better than how he's performed when coming on for 20, 25 minutes. A player like Casemiro, you can't get into a game of football, you know, with such a small amount of time. You need the full 90 minutes, or you need to start games. I liked it. It was all right.
Yeah, good points, well made. I just want to, if everyone can give us your thoughts on how Casemiro fared tonight, what you were expecting of him, what you think he did well, what you're expecting him to do going forward, and do you think he sort of made a good account of himself in the pretty much 90 minutes that he played? We were talking about this backstage, just to put my 2 pennies in. You know, I think for someone of that position, it's you have to be able to read the game incredibly well, and he hasn't obviously had so many minutes yet, and particularly when we're playing in the Premier League this time at the moment. So when someone like him comes into the fold, he needs to be able to sort of sit back, read the game, understand how opponents play, how physical it is, what players do, and I think that it's not someone that you can see come in and hit the ground running. Tonight was a perfect opportunity for him to get a lot of minutes in the tank. That's what it's about ultimately, but you can see the ability that he has, and hopefully going forward he'll be able to control games far better, and we're going to need him in order to do that. There's someone we've been missing in that position for a very, very long time. We've got arguably one of the best in the Premier League on his day, absolutely no question about that, but we just need to see more of that, and hopefully he can do that going forward. Marcus, any other thoughts on Casemiro tonight?
Yeah, not really, to be honest. I thought he was all right today. The thing with Casemiro is it's hard to judge him, because when you look at his Wikipedia page, it's easy to get high standards and think you're going to get something a lot better than what we've seen. So it's a little bit hard, but when you put into
I thought Wikipedia was gospel.
Yeah, no, but look, when you apply the context of where our team is at the moment, it's easy to see why Casemiro has struggled to come in and really have an impact. And so I think tonight was a good account. I mean, we had 74% possession, I think, which is an indication that we really dominated the game, especially in the midfield. And part of that is due to Casemiro and the calmness that he brings. I didn't really notice any glaring mistakes from him. I mostly noticed them from Bruno, Eriksson, and a couple of other players. So that's a good sign. And I mean, I always say if you don't notice your CDM, sometimes that's actually a good thing, you know, because it means they're doing their job. You know, it means they're doing the job. Right. If you're noticing your CDM and you're noticing mistakes that they're making, that's a red flag. So no complaints about Casemiro. I hope he continues to start, even though I've got nothing against McTominay. I've always said that, you know, it's not sustainable long term.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Great comment there as well. You're absolutely right. These players tend to be a little bit quieter. Carrick, Herrera, usually a little bit quieter in the game, and you know they're doing their job properly. So long may it continue, and yeah, I've got no complaints. A question here really by 9S, pretty good one I feel. I'll fire this over to you, Ellis. Is there a possibility we bought Casemiro as his powers start to fade? He is world class, but I worry that it may have been sold to us at the wrong time. Hopefully wrong, just being realistic.
I think you look at his age, but then again, age is just a number, because some of the best players in the Premier League are obviously in that age bracket. I think you can't ignore the qualities that he has and the world-class capability that he has on a football pitch. It can't be ignored. What he's won at Real Madrid is not an accident. What he's done in that team is not an accident. He can play football, and we're just not. He's just into a new league. You've seen it with, as we mentioned backstage, with all different kinds of players that have took time to adapt. And we just need to give him time. It was another kind of weird performance, because it was not exactly something that you'd see in a CDM. He was just very much on the ball, just making passes, and I thought he did his job well. But we just need to relax a little bit. We need to give players time to adapt. The World Cup's coming up. It's going to be a hectic load of games. He's going to get minutes, and then we're going to be able to judge him properly. We can't judge him off 80 minutes against Omonia, 20 minutes against City, and when we're getting beat 6-1. We have to judge him over a sustained period of time to be able to give ourselves a concise and precise level of judgment. We can't judge him off such a short period of time. So we need to give him time, allow him to adapt.
Can I also just say, remember that Fernandinho at Manchester City was very, very old when he came into his prime as well. And before Pep Guardiola arrived at Manchester City, I bet you most people didn't think he was a world-class CDM. And then Pep Guardiola came in, there was a huge effect. And after he actually built the team around him, you saw the quality that Fernandinho brought to the team. So I think with Casemiro, we've got to judge him based on what's around him. You know, I think once the team's been built, then we can say, right then, let's see where this world-class experience is. He's not going to transform that team alone, you know, so I agree with Ellis.
Yeah, he needs, you know, he's going to need somebody to complement Eriksen. You know, a good CDM needs players that can complement him as well as other players in and around them. You know, years and years ago in the 80s, Liverpool had a player called Jan Mulby, Danish player. A little bit portly, a little bit overweight, but his ability to dictate the tempo of a football match was amazing. He was just truly an artist at work. You know, he knew exactly when to quicken the play, when to slow the play, when to put the right type of challenge in, when to take a booking, you know, when to screen, when not to screen, when to take 3 steps to the right, 2 steps forward. You know, what you would deem to be just basic central midfield play. This guy was an absolute master. Now, Casemiro has got those abilities. And as I said before, he got Toni Kroos, or I call the crooner, and he got Luka Modric with him, 2 of the best midfield players from an attacking sense. And also they can defend those 2. So they could defend as a 3 and attack as a 2, which allowed Casemiro to sit nicely and then break up any scraps that came for loss of possession within the final third. We don't have that. And I go back again to the Bruno Eriksen dynamic. Individually, all right, they're perhaps not as good as Kroos and Modric, but there's similar ability in terms of the way that they play. So Casemiro will recognise that part of the game, but he won't have that trust yet that he built up with Kroos and Modric, and that takes time. I think you're right, guys, both of you. I think you're absolutely right. With regards to Fernandinho and building a team around a type of player, and I think maybe that's what Ten Hag will look to do. He'll look to utilise the strengths of Casemiro, and then put players in and around him that Casemiro A feels comfortable with, and B could get the best out of them as well, which is what we need and we don't have at the minute. So I like him. I'm not really sure he's world class, but then again, I don't like the phrase world class anyway. It doesn't really, nobody's ever explained to me what world class is. So I don't really agree with that phrase, but he's certainly within the top 5 CDMs in world football, and that to me says a lot. So,
yeah, absolutely spot on. You sort of mentioned, Marcus, about the players that will be taking a little bit more time. Fernandinho is actually a very good example I didn't mention earlier. Fabinho, Thiago, Rodri, all players that take a little bit of time, all in a very familiar position, right? And and I think that you will see that a lot more. So again, as United fans, and I think as rival fans looking in on United, they get impatient. They want to slander, and we've just got to be patient, unfortunately, and it will come good, and he will be a very important player for us. I'm absolutely sure of that. Get your comments in, guys. Always good to see new faces, and obviously we want to go through those. Just to come into this one here, Mo, what's with this defence? 6 against City, 2 against Omonia, I'll say there. Something's got to change. Nice to put a little bit of a jokey slander on it, bro, but there you go. Listen, it's 2 games. Varane was clearly nursing an injury on Sunday, had to go off, and we need a bit of consistency in the back 4. And it's Lindelof. Look, he's been injured for a little while. Come back, isn't going to be at 100%, and I think you see that. But I think what you have seen is a consistency. I feel in Martinez. I think he's been still pretty good. And really making my presence known, playing some really great splitting passes. I've been really impressed with those all season, quite frankly, and we will see more of that. And hopefully, as Stu says, get Varane back we should have a bit more solidity at the back. Just going to come to a few comments that have come out since the game is finished. Marcus Rashford, he said, I think I can play both on the left through the middle. The left is probably more natural for me. It's a big positive to have versatility. When Eric Ten Hag made the subs, he just wanted us to do a little bit more, be a bit more dynamic, take more chances going forward and just try and score goals. When you're 1-0 down, that's what you have to do. All things that are quite trivial, really. And then he talks about Anthony Martial. He's a massive player for us. He has been for a long time. When he's happy and at it, he's an unbelievable player, and I've always enjoyed playing with him. And he's absolutely right. Stu, we've spoken about Martial many times. I've certainly talked to Marcus about it as well, and I have given myself giving him a fair amount of criticism. But when he is on his day, we've spoken about him being the link-up man for Ronaldo, but he's been brilliant the last 2 games since coming on, and I think it's probably going to warrant a start for him at the weekend. I think you'll see him, Ronaldo, and Rashford is my prediction at least. But he was unbelievable tonight, and he took his goal unbelievably well. Marcus Rashford as well, absolutely brilliant. It's great to see him in form. Eric Ten Hag, he comes on to say, we have already seen Martial's importance in pre-season. It was a big disappointment for the team, for me, when he got injured against Atletico. We missed him in the first couple of weeks, and it also had an effect on our team performance. He is a big part. If you play him in the right position and you've seen the link-up play that he does, he's one of the best at it. He was incredibly good tonight. I'm really pleased for him, and hopefully we see this going forward. Any other comments, guys? Ellis, anything else at all? Do you want to talk about Malacia? Obviously, he made a massive mistake. Was looking a bit downbeat on Sunday as well. We can talk about that a little bit. But probably we'll see Luke Shaw starting on Sunday, right?
Yeah. Sorry, who's taking that? Sorry, guys.
Ellis, please. Ellis, please.
Come on, Ellis.
How many, everyone, I just want to touch on Martial and then I'll go into Malacia. Martial's a key player for us and everyone, but how many times have we had this conversation and sat here with ourselves and think Martial's key for us? And then it's just not worked out, whether that's injuries or poor performances. And Martial's very key for us. I just don't think we can get too much ahead of ourselves, because he's been very inconsistent, whether we like it or not. He's been here, 8-9 years? And we're still yet to see the best Anthony Martial. So we just need to little bit more patient, like we are with Casemiro, and allow him to just nurture this good form instead of rushing into thinking that he's the best answer and he's the best thing since sliced bread. We need to just chill out a little bit. Malacia, I think it's gonna. If he gets dropped on Sunday, I think it's gonna be quite a huge confidence blow for him. I really think it is. I think he obviously didn't have the greatest game against City. You can blame him for a couple, maybe for the goal that Foden scored across the box, and obviously he had a bit of a howler tonight. But I think he's done enough to warrant still to play in this team. I think before pre-City, he was very, very good. He was very tenacious, very good on the ball. And I do still think that he still deserves to have a game. Don't get me wrong, if he still continues this poor form, then everyone's replaceable, everyone's droppable. No one should just be guaranteed a spot in the team. But I think for a young player coming in from the club, just signed, for him to be dropped after a couple of bad games, he needs trust from the manager. And I do feel like he is the right fit, especially against Everton, to be able to try and, rescue his form. But at the same time, it's just a mistake. Mistakes happen in football. We've all played it. We've all had howlers. We've all made them sort of mistakes. So we just need to just nurture him and support him really through it, I think, anyway.
Yeah, Stu, you wanted to come in quickly, and then and Marcus comes straight after that, buddy.
Yeah, I do. And Ellis makes some valid points about Malacia. I like a ruthless manager, though. I like somebody, I'm a centre half, Malacia's doing that. I'm just chewing his ear, constantly all game. He was out of position more than I've ever seen him the last couple of games, tonight in particular. His first touch is off. His control and his ability to run with the ball is off. He's stopped taking on the final man now. The right back, and he's coming back on himself and then dropping him back to Eriksen. We got into 4 or 5 crossing positions tonight. We didn't cross the ball. We didn't put the ball in there. Ronaldo's one of the best in the air. We didn't put the ball in. Malacia 4 weeks ago, different player, completely different player. Now look, I'm very, very well aware that form can go out the window. Since I've been back from Portugal, I've been absolutely woeful in 2 games. And when I mean woeful, I was a complete waste of space on the pitch.
Just Portugal.
I was all right before then, but I've come back and honestly, I don't know what's wrong with me, So But so that can happen, and I get it. I really do. But the mistakes that you're seeing at the minute.
It's a great point here, by the way, just quickly.
Fully agree.
Oh, look at that. Are so basic that sometimes you got to say, look, pal, out you come. Just have a week off. Now, I get exactly what Ellis was saying about if you take a young player out of the team, you drop a young player, his confidence or get shot. To me, I want to see completely opposite. I want to see him, you know what, actually, Gaffy, you're right on this occasion. Maybe I need a week off. Let me just resort myself out, because if you're substituted or you're, by the way, twice at half time, it's not a good look for number one, for a start. But secondly, if you can't accept criticism playing for Manchester United or playing professional football, semi-pro football, Monday night with your mates, there's no point there's just no point in playing, because you're not what the team needs. So if he does get dropped, if Shaw comes in, and I do think Shaw should come in on Sunday, I have to be honest.
Yeah,
then I want to see Malacia fight for his place again. We haven't seen Luke Shaw whinge and moan, have we? We've seen him get himself fit and get on with it.
No, and you know what? In defence of Malacia, I'm a huge advocate of him, and
I like him.
I said on another show last week, he's a type of player that won't make those mistakes again. I know he's young, he's inexperienced, he's going to make mistakes, but that game at the weekend against City, he will remember that. And he won't make a lot of those mistakes again. He's got a lot within him in order to improve himself, and he would take it on the chin. Very professional.
We had the same with Evra, didn't we? We had the same with Evra.
In his first season, he had an awful game against City.
Yeah, appalling, and you do. But that's what defines a footballer. What you're talking about there is actually what defines a footballer at the highest level, and somebody who'll quite happily just sit with mediocrity. And I think he'll come good. I think he'll dust himself off and he'll look at it. But if you have a third game and he has a bit of a mare in the first half against Everton and he's hooked again at half time, you've got to ask questions. So for me, we need a bit of stability. We need, with that lack of experience that we've got and this fledgling partnership, if Varane isn't back between Lindelof and Martinez, we need a bit more stability in there. Look, Dallow's getting a free ride at the minute, isn't he? Because of Wan-Bissaka's injured. So Malacia's just got to look at it. He'll be upset again. This is the third time, by the way, he's been hooked at half time, Malacia, this season already. So maybe, just maybe, it's time to pop in Shaw, give him a run of games and see what happens. But look, I like Malacia. I'm not saying anything detrimental against the kid. You're absolutely right. You guys, is coming from from Feyenoord. He's played in the Dutch league. It's not the best league in the world, and he has been playing well. But just sometimes you just got to kind of relax.
Do you think? I'm right to just jump in a sec. Do you think
go for it.
You mentioned, Stu, about him getting subbed off at half time against City. Do you not think that? Do you think that was completely tactical from tonight? Do you think that was because he was that bad? But I think you could have subbed any one of them for off at half time. You 4-0 down in Manchester derby. Like Dallow was really poor. But
he was.
Grealish ran him ragged. I'm not saying Malacia was good, but do you think Malacia was
I think it goes back to what Stu was saying a moment ago. I think Dallow has got a free run at the moment with Aaron Wan-Bissaka being injured at the moment, and obviously with the inexperience of Malacia and also the experience that Shaw has had. He's had some great performances against City.
I'll say one thing about Malacia. Yeah, I'll say one thing about Malacia, and you're right. I'm not really sure it was tactical by Ten Hag, but when you're in that situation where you're getting almost hammered by your opponent, whoever it is, you got to take the game into your own hands. And this is old school, Ellis. Don't forget, I'm an olden pal. And if Foden had done that to me for 5 minutes, I'd have smashed him in Rose Ed, and I'd taken the booking for it, and I'd have got on with it. The difference between the modern footballer and kind of my era of football is they'll allow to attackers to come at you, and if you get beat, so be it. If you get beat, so be it. When Dallow got his booking against Grealish, he almost started crying. He didn't want to go anywhere near Grealish after that. You can't do that. You've got to get in the mindset. Look, come on then, Foden. Let's see what you got. Start talking to him. Let's see what you got, pal. Pull his shirt. drop an elbow on him, do anything you can to disrupt his play. Malacia didn't do that, you see, and he's suffering for that. When you don't do that, and you've got a player that like Foden, who's a really good, skillful player, and he'll put it about a bit, Foden will as well. He's a bit of a dirty git when he wants to be. You've got to match him up. You've got to do everything you can to disrupt him. And Malacia, however you want to pronounce it, he's got to start learning that. Dalot still doesn't do it. Positionally, he's woeful. And if and that's what I would do. It's the same with Anthony. You know, the fullback, the left back. Anthony didn't really get round him once, maybe twice. He always
he had a nice little cameo at one point when he took on about 3 or 4 players, but that was the only thing he really did.
But he also, the fullback watched what Anthony was about, and he just squared him up all the time. If you're gonna go past me, I'm gonna square you up. So if you try going on the right, I'll be there. If you try going on the left, I'll be there. You know, Malacia didn't do that with Foden. He allowed Foden to dictate the play to him rather than the fullback dictating the play to the winger. And that sometimes, but it's Ellis. It's a learning process, mate.
Yeah, I do get what you mean. I think part of that's also down to just the pure brilliance of Phil Foden. Like we can't. Yeah, we got to give Foden as well.
But sometimes you got to disrupt a player like that. Sometimes you've got to get in his ear. He's only a youngster anyway. I'd have pulled his ear back in the day. Anything. Absolutely anything.
Basically, anyone watching in the comments, if you come up against Stu, know that he's going to play dirty and just be very careful. Marcus, I know you've been sitting there pretty for 5 minutes, and I apologise. We will talk about the defensive minute. I'll give you a free rein with all 4 of them momentarily. I just want to quickly move on and just go through this a little bit. So we've played 3 games. Obviously, we lost 1 at the moment. We're sitting in second, 6 points behind Sociedad with 9. It's crucial that we win the next 3 games now, particularly against Sociedad on the final game, isn't it, Marcus?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I'm not too worried about us potentially getting knocked out of the group because I don't think things will get that bad, to be honest with you. I think anyone who thinks that is slightly overreacting. You're slightly overegging the pudding.
The only problem with it is if you don't come top, there's a chance of you playing an extra round, a playoff game to get through, and then obviously you get teams like Barcelona, whoever don't get through the Champions League. That's my only concern.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But look, at the end of the day, I'm one of those United fans who's not about getting an easy run to the final, anyways. So
me too.
If we were to finish second and get a Barcelona, I'd be up for it. I'd be like, all right then. Go on, lads. Let's see what you can do, you know. So I really don't think it makes too much of a difference.
Twerk for Frankie.
Yeah, that too. Although I'm kind of over Frankie, I'm not gonna lie. You know, I think Miotov wasted a trip to Spain. Anyways, talking about Manchester United, like the results are very important, obviously. Getting out of the group is very important, obviously. But for me, as I said earlier on tonight, I'm genuinely looking more at the performances. I'm genuinely looking more at how we improve under Erik ten Hag. What are the red flags? What similar signs are we seeing from the previous regime? So I'm really not too bothered about where we finish as long as we get through the group and I can see a slight progression. And we don't see a repeat of what happened tonight because in the last 2 games, we've conceded 8 goals. So, you know, there's something needs to change desperately. You know, that's all I'm concerned about personally. I don't know about you guys.
No, I think you're right, actually. I'm with you on that. I think tonight was just one of those games where the whole town was excited, looking forward to Manchester United coming into town. So years and years ago when we played Galatasaray, you know, and I was out in Istanbul at the time, and people were just going absolutely nuts for it. And these smaller teams do it. It's their big. That's where they make the money. They make the money when Manchester United come into town because everybody wants a piece of it. They could have probably sold it on pay-per-view. If they could do that, you know, in Cyprus and made an absolute fortune because that's what it's all about. Where we've got to really, we've just got to. What we haven't done in the last 3 or 4 games is really come together as a unit. Even against Arsenal, you know, we're not a cohesive unit at the moment. And you know, we as much as you can say about how good the back 5 has been, De Gea has kind of reverting to type over the last couple of games. You know, now whether that's because Varane and Martinez aren't communicating with him, I don't know. But you can't have De Gea reverting to type because once he reverts to type, that's when you get, you know, the 10 or 15 yards that strikers need. in behind our slow defence when Lindelof is playing, bless him, or Maguire's playing, and it's a real problem for us. So as much as you can see a little bit of progress, there's still a hell of a lot that needs to be fixed. And it then goes back to my old saying, which I talk about all the time. Why can't these players identify it themselves and deal with it themselves?
Yeah.
Why have you got to look to the gaffer all the time and say, hey, gaffer, what should I do? Should I sit back 10 yards as I go up 10 yards? Gaffer, help me.
The thing is, a manager, a performance analyst, a video analyst, they should only really step in to point out the finer details. So if you've done everything in your power and you genuinely don't know what to do to improve, that's when you go to the video analyst and say, hey man, what is the pattern? Show me the statistics so that I can actually, am I running diagonally too much? Should I focus on running straight? Should I just stay in this area? Is that where majority of the strikers in the league are scoring? What should I do? You should only rely on outside help when it gets to the finer details. But with our players, as we know, it's not the finer details, it's the fundamentals. So that's the thing. That's the thing. And listen, just very briefly on
love that. Coin that, Marcus. That was lovely.
He's right. He's right.
Yeah, but just very briefly on De Gea, just to wrap up the point, also another thing about him is, again, it's the fundamentals, right? I was actually shocked. Well, I wasn't really that shocked, but to not see Dubravka play today.
I think he's injured.
He had a 75. He's got a muscular injury. I was talking about this last night. Actually, he's got a muscular injury. He had 75% chance of playing. So it's probably going to be him.
That makes sense. Yeah, I was scratching my head trying to figure out why we signed him, but that makes sense.
Yeah, so I expect him to play. If he is fit, I'd expect him to play next Thursday.
Yeah. Likewise. Right, we're going to move on to the ratings now, our favourite part of the show. Obviously, we had some fantastic performances. Normally, we don't include substitutions, but we will do today. I think, obviously, they get a very commendable shout, certainly, so we will be doing them as well. Get your comments in, guys. I want to see some comments. I want you to like the video and put in your ratings too. We're going to talk about each player individually and give us your rating in the comments too. And loads of you over on Facebook, get involved. Come over to youtube.com/Talk of the Devils and get involved over here. All right, so very, very quickly then, Stu, David De Gea.
6.
Short and sweet, love it. Right, Marcus, you did say to me that you wanted to talk about the defence, so choose any two of the 4 who started and go in on them and give me your ratings for those, please.
Okay, I'll start with the fullbacks, right? Malacia for me today, I'm going to give him a 5 because I don't think he was that great. And just very briefly on the point about whether or not he should be dropped, listen, at the end of the day, I always say that you should pick players on merit, and that doesn't necessarily mean chopping and changing the team every week, but you do need to make people realize that, hey man, there's no free rides here. We're not here to coddle your feelings or your emotions. And I actually disagree with a lot of people who say, will dropping Malacia ruin his confidence? I actually think starting him will ruin his confidence because it'll give him a false sense of security. Starting him after bad performances and giving him this idea that he's arrived now. He's just made this magical transition from Feyenoord to Manchester United and he's starting every week now. That's not a good idea in my opinion. But anyways, Delo, I thought he was okay tonight. I'll give him a 6. I don't think he was at fault too much for any of the goals. And we're in a weird space with Delo because whether you like him or not, we need another right back. Because if you think Delo's good enough, we need a backup right back. And if you don't think Delo's good enough, we need a right back to start. So either way, we need a new right back. It's a weird situation with Delo. But I'll give him a 6.
Moving on to Lindelof, Ellis.
Tricky one.
4. He's got so many flaws in his game that get exposed against these sort of teams. Excuse me, he's so poor aerially, and he's directly at fault for that second goal. He gives the ball away cheaply. I don't think it was his greatest performance. But then again, you've not been playing. You're walking into a back 4 that's used to Varane. You're not going to exactly be able on the same wavelength. But I just thought he was quite poor tonight.
Yeah, can't disagree with you, buddy. Martinez, Stu, please, Morgan.
He gets a 6 for me. I didn't see anything truly outstanding from Martinez tonight. But again, it goes back really what Ellis was saying. It's the partnership between Martinez and Lindelof. It's fledgling. It's new. I didn't expect Martinez to have his best game, if I'm being honest. So 6. I don't think you can give him any more than a 6.
No, I think that's fair. Moving on to Casemiro. I know we've spoken about him at length tonight. Marcus.
Interesting.
I tell you what, you can all give me a rating. Tell me your rating, and then give me 30 seconds each. So, Marcus, you start.
This is a tough one. You put me on the spot here. 6.9, just below 7, only because I feel like he had a quiet game.
We only do whole numbers on this show.
Okay, I'll give him a 7. I thought he was okay tonight. I thought he did what a CDM is supposed to do. I don't think he was directly at fault for any of the goals. And I think he should be starting every week for Manchester United, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you, and absolutely spot on with everything you said there. Ellis, Ericsson, a bit of a surprise that he was playing again tonight. I thought you might see Casemiro alongside Fred. Obviously, Fred did make an appearance at the end, but your rating for Ericsson, please, buddy.
I'm going to go 5. I love Christian Eriksen, but the last 2 games, he's really been quite wasteful when he's been on the ball. Not his usual self, not his creative self. I think, does he need a rest? We have played him every game, but he's just looked very, very off it. He's not breaking lines like he used to, but then again, we are playing against him. It's playing a low block, so there's not exactly them dynamic spaces in behind. But I'd just say middle of the road performance, like Stu said previously. I think it's just a 5, middle of the road performance. Not great, but not awful where you can slate him.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Moving on to Bruno, Stu.
Yeah, I knew I'd get him.
Yeah, I think you might.
Well, you know what? He gets a 4. I'm just not seeing it with him at the minute. I know it's low, and I know a lot of people will accuse me of not understanding football and midfield play and all this kind of nonsense. But unfortunately for you guys, I do understand football, and I do understand midfield play. Bruno has been no more than a 4 at best for the bulk of the season, I'm afraid. And it's time for Eric, Mr. Ten Hag, to have a word in Mr. Fernandez's ear and get him to pull his finger out. But I think the lads are right. By the way, Casemiro is a definite 7. Marcus, I think you're right.
Yep.
And Ellis was right about Ericsson. He was 5. He wasn't great today either, but I couldn't put Bruno on the same level as Ericsson.
No.
If Ellis had gone with a 6 of Ericsson, I might have given Bruno 5, but it's a 4 for me. I don't know what you guys think. What you two think?
I think 4 is fitting for Bruno.
Yeah,
I think 4 is
I
perfect.
think you're absolutely right. I think it needs a bit of timeout. Helly in the comments here said Bruno needs a wee timeout.
Right.
In my
She
opinion,
knows what
I
she's
think
talking
she's
about.
absolutely spot on. Yeah, I think he does. As I said, 2.5 years, 3 years of pretty much playing most or majority of minutes. It's going to tire you out somewhat. So I think he just needs a bit of a break. May see that at the weekend. Who knows? Yeah, good points well made. Moving on to the front 3 then, and then we'll go to the subs. So first of all, Marcus Sancho, please, buddy.
Oh dear. I mean, listen. It's hard to pick who is the worst player between him and Bruno. Genuinely is. It's like a competition between those two.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm gonna have to give him a 4. I think he was just as bad as Bruno. And the thing about Sancho is tonight, like, not only was he not confident, not only was he hesitant to taking people on, but it seemed like he was just shifting responsibility. Even in a situation where we had the upper hand, he gives it to Malacia, and he's swarmed by green and white shirts and can't do anything about it. Now, that to me is just poor. So Sancho, man, he needs to fix up. And speaking of Ten Hag having a word with people, he needs to have a word with Sancho as well, because I don't know. I think we might be having another Donny van de Beek syndrome going on.
Could be, although one's getting minutes. So hopefully he can turn it around and prove in those minutes. Just a little bit of a stat for you. Stu will be happy about this. So Cody Gakpo has had 23 goal contributions this season, as many as Haaland, having a terrific season. Someone we were linked very heavily with, and scored, I think, and assisted again tonight.
We're supposed to be going back for him in January, aren't we?
Possibility. I still think we obviously need another striker. Not really the number 9 that we want, but it is absolutely firing this season. And listen, if we're here to talk about the machine that is Haaland, we should be putting Gakpo in the exact same conversation. Terrific player. Anyway, let's move on to Anthony on that right-hand side. Ellis.
Tough one.
I'm gonna go 6, but that's just on the basis of I just thought in flashes we see what Anthony really brings. I think we've seen it in the derby. He just has that. What's the word? What's the best way to phrase it? He just has something about him. Like you can see it in a
He's
player
got that
where
flair. He's got the
yeah,
flair.
he
Yeah.
has the technical ability to take a man on, and that's something we've really missed at Old Trafford. We see so many times players just turn it back, passing it to the fullback. I like his bravery in a way. He takes risks, and I like that in a player. It shows that he's got something about him. I thought today, obviously, he had that massive chance, wrong decision making, but that happens. Everyone makes wrong decisions. But I thought his work rate tonight was very, very good. I felt that was very lacking in the derbies. I feel like he's kind of gone away, took that as if he didn't come and help his fullback. And I thought there was many times when that fullback broke away from Dallo when he was right back straight down helping him out, which I kind of like. I like that team camaraderie, the team being able to work hard for your teammates. I think he warrants a 6.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Everyone nodding their heads in agreement. I think you're spot on there, buddy. My mouse is gone, so this might be difficult to end the show, but we'll sort it out in a minute. Right, so moving on to Ronaldo. Stu, you.
My man, Ronaldo. I'm gonna give Ronnie. I'm gonna give Ronnie an 8, and I'm gonna give Ronnie an 8 because the guy
Marc is shocked there.
didn't stop all night. He didn't stop. He got into position after position after position. Yeah, he didn't convert. Yes, he didn't have his most clinical of nights. But for any young striker, anyone who's got any aspirations of being a box striker, just watch Ronaldo, because that's the difference between a clinical striker and an average striker. And his movement across the box, the 18-yard box, was phenomenal tonight. And he came for the ball deep. He tried to get into play. So for me, and I'll get vilified for it, but I don't really care, he was top drawer tonight. I thought he was just brilliant. And it's not all about goal contributions. It's about what you contribute on the night to the team.
What
And
space you can provide.
and
He
he was
provided
our
himself
perfect-
with a lot of space at
He was
times
our
as well,
perfect
didn't he?
lead out man tonight. I think. I really do. I really do. I know Marcus would have given him a 7. I know that, but I'm not saying he was man of the match. By the way, I know I can't say man of the match now, can I? Player of the match. I'm just saying, if you looked at him for 90 minutes, 37 years of age, by the way, that man was desperate to score a goal. Desperate. You need that in your team. We want people desperate to defend. We didn't have that tonight. We've got somebody desperate to score a goal, and you need that. So that's my reasoning for the 8.
No, I think that's fair. I totally understand. I'm on board with that. We spoke about that backstage and a little bit tonight on the show. I think you could see that sort of hunger in him tonight, and it was just unfortunate he didn't put 1 or 2 away. Really, I may have given him a 7 as opposed to an 8, but you know, each to their own, and I can see why. So yeah, good points, well made. Right, I'm gonna obviously finish this show with 3 easy ones for you: Luke Shaw, Marcus Rashford, and Anthony Martial. And I'm going to give Marcus Rashford to Marcus first.
Yeah, I think he was good tonight when he came on. Actually, superb. I would give him an 8 out of 10 because I think without him, we don't win the game. And, you know, it's weird because I'm still not sold on Rashford, but it seems like the players who are on borrowed time are the ones who are actually using that time. And the players who we think deserve to be in the team are the ones who are letting us down. So at least in my case, anyways, I can't speak for everyone else. So it's a very weird time to be a United fan, but fair play to Rashford. You know, he shut me up tonight. He scored a beautiful goal, an absolutely beautiful goal. Actually, he scored 2 goals, actually. So Ronaldo,
he
I think, assisted. Yeah, Ronaldo assisted the second.
Yeah, scored 2 and assisted twice. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And, you know, it's one thing to perform when you're starting games through the middle because there's no one else. It's another thing to perform when you've been taken out of the team. Your team's just lost at 6-3. The performance is not looking great, and you've been called to come off the bench, you know, and you have an immediate impact, you know. Yes, it's against Omonia. Yes, it's in the Europa League, but still, compared to everyone else, he was fantastic. So 8 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, absolutely spot on and totally in agreement. Helly in the comments here. Marcus gets a 9 from her. Right, moving on then. Who wants Luke and who wants Anthony Martial? Not all at once.
Take your pick, Alice. I don't mind, mate. Go on.
I'll take Martial then. Very good, very good. I think it's been summed up perfectly from what we talked about before. His link-up play tonight was fantastic. I think Marc said he's one of the best at it in the Premier League. His link-up play, being able to instrument the play in between the lines, is fantastic. And I thought he did that to a T. Took his goal very, very, very well. What a finish
fantastic finish. Yeah.
Anyone that's played like it's been a striker, that is a very difficult finish. To bend that into the near post, very, very top. I'd probably give him an 8. I think he was just the same as Rashford. Both of them came on, changed the game, and have saved us from what was looking like an embarrassing defeat. So, yeah, he deserves the same applause that Rashford's going to get, really.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Helly as well. Shaw 8, Martial 8. Stu then, last but not least, Luke Shaw.
Yeah, I'm going to give Shaw an 8. To be fair, I think that's a fair comment. I thought when he came on, he showed composure, which we've been desperately looking for recently. He tacked well. His crossing inside the box is still awful. It's still not good. But ultimately, you've got to get in those positions. I thought the combination of Rashford and Shaw was terrific. It was great to see, and it leaves me with a little bit of hope.
Flashbacks.
And there's not anything to suggest that again, Alice, Malacia can't come back into the squad. But I just think at the minute, the Shaw Rashford combination with Martial and Ronaldo would be relatively potent for us. I thought the three of them were fantastic when they were playing together. I thought it was great. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Player of the match for me. I got to give it to Rashford, haven't you?
Yeah, I think so. 2 goals, 2 assists. I don't think you're wrong there. Listen, just want to say thank you to everybody in the comments tonight. Really, really good conversations coming on, and really, really good to read a lot of those comments out. So thank you very much. Like and subscribe. I know I say this every time. It's really, really important to us, and obviously we appreciate you coming along to give us a watch. Jamie did a show on Tuesday with a former United keeper, Luke Steele. He does every week. Really good show that every week, and I suggest you go and have a little watch of that. This Friday, Keane will be back doing a show, I believe, still with Phil Marsh, Lee Lawrence, 2 ex-United players, fullback and a striker, back in 2003, and both played with Cristiano Ronaldo. Always a good watch. And of course on Monday, Wayne will be back doing a bit more with Paul Parker, ex-United right back. So some really, really big things to come. But as I said, go follow these boys. All terrific, all great at what they do, and always a pleasure to have each and every one of you guys on tonight. So thank you very much for coming in. Listen, guys, we will see you very, very soon. You've got yours truly again on Sunday. Be the last one for me for a couple of weeks as I'm going on holiday, and you might all appreciate that. And we might have more viewerships at that point. But anyway, listen, we'll see you next time.